Once there was a wolf living in a dangerous world. A world of shadows and ink, when survival meant scavenging for food and supplies, and every corner hid something waiting to strike. This wolf wasn't just surviving, he was being hunted by a monster only known as the Ink Monster. Bendy the Lone Wolf, a roguelike spin-off of the Bendy series, where we step into the role of Buddy Boris, an innocent soul trapped in Joey Drew's inky nightmare, desperate to escape. So grab your snacks and settle in, and let's begin the full story. Buddy Boris isn't just a cartoon brought to life. He's the physical manifestation of Daniel, a worker at Joey Drew's studio who was pulled into the ink machine and reshaped into Boris. But when Daniel became Boris, his human mind was swept away. He never speaks. He doesn't seem to recognize who he really is. Despite this, Boris has carved out a small life for himself inside the ink world. He hides away in a safe house, a place stocked with supplies, a bed to sleep in, and a fragile sense of security. Inside the safe house, Boris isn't entirely alone. He encounters Porter, one of the lost ones. These creatures are corrupted souls that emerge from the ink machine, most of them hostile and mindless. But Porter is different. He still has fragments of his humanity. He's aware, he can speak, and he wants to find a way out. From here, Boris has no choice but to leave the safe house. He takes an elevator down into the ruined studio to scavenge supplies, food, scraps and tools he needs to stay alive. But survival is never easy. The ink world is crawling with dangers, hostile lost ones, strange inky monsters, and above all, the Ink Monster himself. The Ink Monster himself cannot be killed, only outrun. Every trip into the studio ends with the same terrifying chase. Boris scrambling for the elevator and the monster closing in, and a desperate escape back to safety. On one expedition, Boris comes across an audio log from Bertram, the man Joey Drew hired to design his theme park, Bendyland. Bertram explains how he created the mechanical mascots to entertain guests, but the technology was unstable. Once one of these animatronics locked onto her face, it would never let that person go. Later, in the Bendyland warehouse, Boris sees the nightmare come to life. He encounters a terrifying animatronic version of himself. It becomes a deadly boss fight, forcing Boris to fight back against a machine that looks just like him. This is where Boris shows surprising courage, managing to deactivate the creature and survive. Boris makes an even darker discovery. He finds Boris' clones, strapped upright on operating tables. Their chests are torn open, all of them dead. This horror is the work of Twisted Alice, a corrupt version of Alice Angel. She's the manifestation of Susie Campbell, Alice's original voice actress, who entered the ink world disfigured and broken, obsessed with fixing her appearance. Susie began experimenting on Boris' clones, hoping to rebuild herself. When she sets her sights on Boris, he becomes her next target. She hunts him relentlessly, but before she can claim him, another creature seizes its trance and drags her away. Boris escapes, shaken but alive, while Alice is left to her fate. After surviving this ordeal, Boris explores the tunnels beneath the studio and finds an audio recording from Wally Franks, the janitor. Wally describes cleaning up inky puddles that seemed alive, moving on their own and reacting to the world around them. He explains these puddles come from a hidden laboratory once used by Thomas Connor, the engineer who helped Joey build the ink machine. Thomas has been seen as a good man, but his inventions created this nightmare. By building the ink machine, he opened the door to a pocket dimension, where souls are trapped as manifestations of characters they once worked on. Alison Pendle was another voice actress for Alice Angel, for someone far kinder than Susie, and one of the few people who resisted the corruption. At one point, we step into the perspective of Porter himself. He's joined by Heidi, a female lost one with a tragic backstory. Heidi had once been human, but after being captured by the Keepers and tortured endlessly, her mind snapped. She regressed into a childlike state, obsessed with games like hide and seek. Her story shows just how far the ink world can break someone. Meanwhile, Boris uncovers something shocking. He finds photographs and remnants of his past life, memories of Daniel. For the first time, he begins to realize that he wasn't always Boris. He once had a life outside of this nightmare. This discovery sparks a new determination in him. He no longer just wants to survive. He wants to escape. Eventually, Boris finds the source of it all. The machine itself. The device that pulled him in, reshaped him, and created this world of endless torment. Along his journey, he heard the voices of the employees trapped here. Wally, Susie, Sammy, each of them lost, corrupted, or twisted into monsters. The ink world magnifies who people were in life. Boris, Daniel, had always been timid. That fear carried into this world. But unlike the others, Boris kept the spark of hope alive. With everything he's learned, Boris activates the machine one last time. Against all odds, it opens a portal back to the real world. And Daniel, once buddy Boris, finally steps free from the cycle. The ink world is a prison of shadows. Most never escape, but Boris did. For a timid wolf who lived life in silence and fear, there's something fitting about him being the one to break free.